Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
Que lo que, la República Dominicana. This is Chuck Campbell.
With Wayne Bledsoe and...
I'm John Baker.
That's how's it going, Dominican Republic? They were first one on board a couple of days ago, and so I jotted that down. We've had listeners there before, but I don't think I've mentioned them before. My favorite tidbit about Dominican Republic is, of course, it shares the island of Hispaniola with Haiti.
Right.
And Haiti speaks French, and Dominican Republic speaks Spanish. And I just always found it interesting that two totally different countries are on one island together.
Yeah, with really different histories.
Yep. And I don't think we've had any listeners from Haiti, so maybe their neighbors can influence them. Okay. Anyway, so today, so we've done this thing a few times where we go into our music collections and we talk about what we find, and for me, I just randomly pick an alphabetical segment of my collection, vinyl and then CD. It was just more of a random, and it's been pretty interesting and kind of random, but interesting stuff comes up at it. The last time we did this, we went off the rails and we were in three different directions, and it didn't hold together well, but we enjoyed doing this. So we're going to try it again today. And how did you say you were going to approach it this time, Wayne?
Well, this time, when we do this, part of my goal is to talk about people that I haven't talked about or have barely talked about on the show. And this time, I decided, because I came back from the beach and there was I had a flash drive that I put a bunch of stuff on, and there was a lot of S artists on there. Names start with S, so I thought, well, maybe this time I'll just look at the S's.
Okay.
So I got as far as SI.
Wow.
Because everything's in alphabetical
From
order.
SA to SI.
SA to SI. And I had 20 people I wanted to talk about, and I limited it to 20. And probably I won't talk about 20, but those are ones I can talk about.
Okay. The first three times I did this, I was alphabetical in my vinyl collection, which is 90% from like 88 to 92. Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot of vinyl. I mean, I have a lot of vinyl, but it just everything from like 3 or 4 years and not much of anything before or after. And I've been alphabetical, but the last time I did what I call tier 2 of my CDs. Uh-huh. These are the ones that aren't closest to the stereo, but they're in the den, they're in the stereo room, and they're readily available. But they're in stacks that are kind of off to the side. So I kind of have to be looking for something, but they're not alphabetical. Mm-hmm. So this is truly random collection. And stack 2 of tier 2, that's what I'm doing today. And these are mostly CDs from mainly the early 2000s.
Okay. Well, that's really way back there for you.
That is, yeah. What about you, John?
Well, I just kind of randomly picked CDs out of I've got them all alphabetized in a little room upstairs. Right. And I just, again, like Wayne did, I tried to make it things that we hadn't discussed before. And it ended up, I did get quite a few bands that I used to see when we lived in Memphis and in Little Rock. And in fact, that my bands opened for some of these bands, and they went on to get signed to major labels. And so I picked a couple of them out. So, yeah, and they mostly kind of fall into the late, 90 to 2005, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Well, mine are all over the place, year-wise.
Mine are not really all over the place year-wise. This is like a really odd collection, the way they came together when I was looking over them, because it's like most of these, I've mentioned a lot of these acts before, but only in terms of like their favorite albums of theirs, and these are like secondary albums that a lot of these acts put out that I don't talk about. Right. And it's just interesting. And I don't know why they're in this particular stack. And I really need to hire a psychologist / office organizer to get in here, figure out where my head was at and how my music ended up being divided the way it is and what's going on with me. Okay. And maybe help me organize it. Okay. But anyway, so I'm pretty random.
You want to start?
Okay, I'll start with Dead Can Dance, and they show up a few times.
I don't mentioned them before.
I had mentioned them before. Yep. There's some I haven't mentioned before because I don't even remember them. Okay, so we'll get to those. But the Dead Can Dance. The first one on here is Memento, which is 15 songs from 1984 to 2001. I think the reason this is one of my favorite acts. I think the reason this became kind of a discard for me is that 15 songs from 1984 to 2001, very disconnected.
So
because
it's a compilation.
Yeah. And their albums are very cohesive within each other. So when you pull little random songs, I usually like greatest hits, but it doesn't really work, so I didn't really listen to it this much, and it's found itself into Stack 2. Also, Everclear, So Much for the Afterglow, 1997. I did like that album, but I like Sparkle and Fade, 1995, better. So it's in a more prominent place. And So Much for the Afterglow, it had the song Everything to Everyone and Father of Mine, so there was still good things. One more I want to mention is Peaches. The reason that this one is where it is, Peaches on the cover, she's got like this black beard, which is weird. But the name of the album has the F word in it, and I thought, I can't review this, and I can't work around it, and I can't put this out on the syndicate, so I'm just not going to do it. So have you ever had an album where you just, I'm not going to review this because I just can't even with this title?
I don't think so. There was a band, Nashville Female Body Part, which I don't miss it on here, that I got. It was so funny because I don't think you were entertainment.
I was, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah. And I think Bob Alexander was involved in this too, I think.
Well, I got permission to use it one time, their name once, but not in the headline.
Right. Yeah. Well, Peaches, it's like I've done Peaches albums before. It's like, I'm not doing this. I'm just not doing this. I'm not sending this to our corporate headquarters. Right. So she got nixed for that.
Well, that's the chance you take when you put profanity in your titles.
Yeah.
Well, that is.
Butthole Surfers. I mean, that was I get away with the Butthole Surfers.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Let's not dwell on the subject.
We won't.
We're going to say something we shouldn't say.
Okay, but that one I don't think I got too much blowback on. The other one though, that was going to be totally
right.
Well, I started in the S's with SA, so Mongo Santa Maria. Cuban percussionist, was popular in the 60s mostly. And, man, it's some of the greatest Cuban percussion you'll ever hear. I know.
There's so much Cuban percussion out there.
Well, you like Sheila E. It's Cuban percussion.
That's true. Is she Cuban? Go ahead.
Her dad was, I think.
Okay.
What is this person's name?
Mongo Santa Maria. And if you only find, I've got Mongo Santa Maria's greatest hits. You only listen to one song, listen to his version of Cloud 9. The Temptations song, and it is just phenomenal. I used to put it on the radio show, and just like, it's hard to sit still. It just sounds so good, and everything that he did was really good.
Okay.
But so anyway, I've never mentioned him on here before.
All right.
And somebody else, and I'm surprised I hadn't mentioned, but I don't think I have, is Santana.
No, I've mentioned them before.
I think you may have, but I don't. Okay. When Supernatural came out, Santana became a big deal again.
Sure.
Everybody was going crazy about him. But it was funny because the first album that has Soul Sacrifice on it, I think, is still their best.
And that's the first Santana album?
First Santana album. It's got that great picture of a drawing of the lion, and if you look close, it's an optical illusion. There's like women in it, in the hair and the lion. It's not just a lion. It's very complicated. But they played that at Woodstock, and that's one of the highlights of Woodstock. Sly and the Family Stone is the highlight of Woodstock for me.
Okay.
But the next one is definitely Santana, Soul Sacrifice.
From what I understand, Santana, they were scheduled to go on at a certain time, and they had timed their psychedelic drugs so that they would hit right when they were on stage, and it went way late, and so by the time they got on, they were just completely blasted out of their minds and didn't even know what they were doing.
But it was incredible. And the first time I interviewed Carlos Santana, he told me that I didn't realize quite how much acid those guys did, but they slipped Bill Graham some acid at one of the Fillmore concerts, and then had him out on stage and had him playing percussion. And, he talked about it being one of the peak moments of his life. So it's kind of fun. It's funny because Santana was so personable and likable. This is before Supernatural came out. And then I got a totally different interview with him the next time. It's like everybody was just praising him all over the place. And he became a more difficult interview. It was odd.
Oh, okay.
But, he wasn't unfriendly, but he was harder to engage.
Right. Well, you learn the hard way.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get used to it. I mean, that's one of the things where and you know this, it's like, depends on the day you get them and who they've talked to before.
Well, they're like anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I may have mentioned it before. One of the peak moments of my interviewing career was Art Garfunkel at the end of our interview saying, "Thank you so much. I had a really bad interview before and you cheered me up." I wanted to put that on my resume. Cheered up Art Garfunkel when he needed it.
That's a good one.
How about you, John?
Oh, all right. Well, the first thing I landed on, I've just tried to pick things that we hadn't talked about before. And the first one I came on was the Meat Puppets, Up on the Sun.
I like them.
From 1985. And the thing that's interesting about Meat Puppets, I think, is that they were on SST Records, which is a hardcore punk label with Black Flag and Husker Du and all these really thrash bands. But Meat Puppets were not like that. I mean, their first couple albums had some pretty harsh stuff on it, but Kurt Kirkwood, the guitar player, really loved to improvise on guitar, and he and his brother Chris just made these really interwoven guitar parts, and they're not super hard-edged. Sometimes they are, but Up on the Sun is really, I think, my favorite Meat Puppets record. It's so good. Give it a spin.
Okay. I interviewed him, Kurt, one time, and he was, just like their albums where you think, oh, gosh, it's going to be this really hard stuff. It's like he was like the most chill, nice guy to interview, just really easygoing.
Yeah.
But they had, Nirvana had covered Lake of Fire and kind of got interest back up with Meat Puppets again because that's their song.
Yeah.
And I think he played with them on that Unplugged album.
Well,
anyway,
that's what I got for my first
entry.
All right. I've got I don't know if you remember these, Wayne, but it's DIG Video Collections. This is DIG Video Volume 5, 16 music videos for PC. I thought, why would they have sent this? And it had everybody from Jeff Buckley to Scissor Sisters to Shinedown. And I think it was the gap between MTV showing videos all the time and YouTube picking up videos.
Right.
I think there was a period there that we've talked about where videos just weren't important anymore.
Yeah.
So they manufactured these videos of bands to send to publicists or to journalists to play in their computers.
Huh,
How specific is that? Of course, I didn't open it or watch it.
But
I just thought that was a weird thing. I have a Ben Folds Advance, Songs for Silverman.
Yeah.
You must have done that. I don't remember
you were doing Ben Folds more than I was back then, but I may have done that one. That's one of my favorites.
Okay. And I found an unopened Ivy album in the clear from 2005. And I thought, why do I have an unopened Ivy album? And then six CDs later, it was an open version of that same CD.
Oh.
So I must have, a lot of times, do you ever, CDs are supposed to be forever? We know they're not.
Right.
Buy a second copy of CDs back in the day when you were worried that one's going to get worn out or broken or something.
I did that with vinyl albums, but not with CDs.
Okay. What about you, John?
No, I never did it on purpose, but there have been many times when I've bought it, like, oh, I'm going to get this album, and then I get home and realize I already have it.
Yeah, I've done that a few times now.
I got a Skrillex album. Do you remember Skrillex?
I interviewed Skrillex,
2011. It was an EP, and I remember, for one hot minute, that was like the hottest, mixer, producer guy in the world. And I saw that, I thought, wow. You look back, and this was 2011. It wasn't that long ago, but it just seems so long ago now.
It does. I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and I brought up Skrillex because I said, this was the one time that I could not find a toehold really in the music. I just did not get it.
Skrillex just played at Bonnaroo.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Still going then.
Apparently.
Okay.
I'm surprised.
Unless
Not really my music.
Well, he was a nice fellow to interview. I enjoyed that. But, man, I could never say, oh, I'm going to put that Skrillex album on.
And one more here, The Pastels, The Last Great Wilderness from 2003. This one is like the last time I went through the stack one of tier 2, I came across a few CDs. I thought, I know I like this, but I don't know why, and I've not heard it. This is one of those. I saw it, my heart lit up and everything, but it's like, I don't remember anything about this. So this is one I'm going to go back and listen to because for some reason I must have liked it, but it was 22 years ago, which was thousands of albums ago. So hopefully this will be. I've got a few others like that too, but y'all don't remember the pastels.
I don't remember the pastels.
What label were they on? Do you know?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Well, I ran across my Maria Schneider Jazz Orchestra album, and there's going to be a lot of obscure stuff here, Chuck. She's not obscure in jazz circles, really, because she became very popular. Maria Schneider, and it is a true jazz orchestra. And when you hear jazz played in something that big, it's very different. Mm. And she has some like chord structures that remind me a little bit of Donald Brown and some of the other jazz folks out there that are just a little on the edge. You know, I love when a musician can kind of make you like the hair stand up on the back of your neck a little bit, because it's like, this is not quite what I want to hear. Right. And then they deliver it and you think, yeah, that's exactly what I needed. But the album that I have that I've gone back to is called Coming About.
Okay.
And, good stuff, start to finish. And that brings me to another jazz person. I don't talk about jazz very much, and I've got a lot of jazz in my collection.
Okay.
John Schofield, who is a great guitar player, who played with Miles Davis, and then later went on and recorded stuff with Medeski, Martin, and Wood.
Okay.
And the album that I think really got me was called Works for Me.
Okay.
But his entire catalog, everything he does is just really adventurous, and it's not so off-putting that it's hard to listen to. It's actually really easy to listen to, but he's a really inventive player. Good stuff. And then, in the totally opposite direction, Daryl Scott, who is the guy who wrote Great Day to Be Alive and You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive.
Okay.
Which became the theme music to Justified, the theme song. And that was, he released an album called Aloha from Nashville that came out on a little independent label. And then it later got picked up, I think, by Sugar Hill. But he is one of the best singer-songwriters to come out of the Americana movement in the 90s and 2000s. And it's funny because Aloha from Nashville is the one it recommends because it's got both of those songs on there that most people know. And it's and then he had an album that came out called Theater of the Unheard, and it came out about a decade after that.
Okay.
And it was actually his first songs on it. He recorded an album that got into a contractual thing, and he was unable. They wouldn't release the album, and he couldn't record those songs for 10 years. Okay. So he had to go back and re-record everything 10 years later.
Wow.
And it's funny because he'd progressed as a songwriter, but you go back and you hear that and it's like, oh yeah, this is exactly what should have come before Aloha from Nashville. But he was a great player, great guitar player, and just multi-instrumentalist, and he was...
What's the name of this album?
Aloha from Nashville.
Oh.
That's probably the one to start with Daryl Scott. But he was in Sam Bush's band playing guitar for a while. That's the first time I saw him, and I remember thinking, dang, who is this guy? Why hadn't I heard of him? And then I started hearing his songs.
Okay.
So anyway, there's 3.
Okay. I'm looking at what I can skip here. I don't have as much to say about any of these, but I will go on.
Okay.
The Sugar Cubes, Life's Too Good, 1988. I don't know how that ended up here. This was their best album. It was Bjork's band. It had Motor Crash, Birthday, Sick for Toys, Delicious Demon. It had all the great songs on it.
Is that the one that's pink?
No, it's green.
Oh.
And also Daft Punk, Human After All. Mm-hmm. Now, I loved they had 1997's Homework and then 2001's Discovery, and those were both really good. This one I don't remember, so obviously it was like the first release when my interest was declining in them, and this is where they ended up. And that's where a lot of these albums kind of ended up. Same with the Queens of the Stone Age, Lullabies to Paralyze from 2005. Do you remember that one, John?
No.
Yeah. It's like and the most surprising one of all to me is Depeche Mode playing The Angel from 2005. I thought there was a Depeche Mode album in 2005, and I'm looking and like that's them, and it's so I was kind of lost on that too. So this is the forgotten row of great artists, I guess, would be what this stack ended up being largely. And then there was Northern State, they're real sassy all-woman rap act. They had an album called Dying in Stereo from 2002. I think for them, this was their high point. So for some bands, it was their low point.
Right.
For some, this is just where they all met, and people that I might want to listen to eventually, but I don't have to have at my, at my fingertips.
Yeah. John?
I got one that I picked out, and I listen to this album all the time, and it is just so catchy. And I don't think I've mentioned them before, but it's the Jayhawks and their 2003 album, Rainy Day Music.
Yeah.
Man, you just can't not sing along. Those guys sing the best vocal harmonies, and they're catchy and jangly and American. They're just great. But it's called
love the Jayhawks.
Rainy Day Music.
Their album, Tomorrow the Green Grass, is like one of my picks for like perfect album. It's like there's not a bad note or song on that album.
Yeah. Our friend Todd Steed turned me on to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. With that album.
Yeah. Well, I think, Mark Olson left them for a while. Didn't Mark Olson go back with them?
I think so.
Yeah. He had married Victoria Williams and worked with her for a long time and then did solo stuff, but I think he went back.
Don't they have a song called Miss Williams Guitar?
They do. It's on Tomorrow the Green Grass.
And this Rainy Day Music was produced by Rick Rubin, by the way, which also makes it sound fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's the first one after Mark Olson left. But it's still great.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Okay, well, I've got. I should have had a trio of Scots because I had
of Scots.
Yeah, the Raymond Scott Quintet, which I think I have mentioned before.
Okay,
but the Raymond Scott Quintet is Raymond Scott was this little band leader. He was also he was the orchestra leader, I think, for NBC Radio, just like their house band.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that you will know his music is if you ever watched Looney Tunes cartoons. His songs were the basis for nearly all of the music that was on there.
Really?
If it wasn't classical music, it was Raymond Scott.
Okay.
So if there's a collection that came out called Reckless Nights and Turkish Twilights, and it collects all those songs, and you put it on, and it will take you back to childhood.
Okay.
Because there's a song called Powerhouse. I don't know how many cartoons they used. But once it starts up, you know the notes.
What's that, Jetsons or something?
No, this is
Lost in Space.
No, it's all the Looney Tunes cartoons. Every time there's a factory in a Looney Tunes cartoon, they play Powerhouse.
Okay, all right.
But anyway, it's wild and crazy stuff. It was never a quintet. He later became like an electronic music guy. And just a real pioneer of synthesizers and electronics. Raymond Scott. Yeah. And that's I can't remember what his real name is. He had like an Eastern European name. He was his family immigrated. And then another one that's kind of odd, Jimmy Scott, who used to be known as Little Jimmy Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, I got a cough. But he had this. He's the closest thing we have to a castrati singer.
Right.
He had something called Kallman syndrome, which you never go through puberty.
Right.
So he kept this very high childish voice.
I didn't know that about him.
Yeah,
okay.
And he didn't grow. I mean, what was funny about him is until he was like 37, he was like barely 5 foot tall.
Okay.
And then something kicked in and he grew like 7 inches.
Wow. Okay.
It's really strange. But the album, I'd heard him before and really didn't know who he was, but David Byrne, I think, produced the album Heaven.
Okay.
And the first song on it is a cover of the David Byrne song Heaven. And Heaven is a place where nothing really happens.
Right.
And then he also on that, the whole thing is about religion and heaven, but he covers Washington Phillips' What Are They Doing in Heaven Today?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really cool introduction to an artist that was very different and strange and, did some great stuff. Real different voice.
Okay.
Because like I said, he sounds like, you think it's a woman.
Right.
And then it's
I remember that voice.
Yeah. And then it's like, no, this is a man. It's just got kind of, his voice never developed.
Wow. I didn't know that was why, though.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyway, those are my Scots, 2 Scots.
Okay. So I've got a question. Isley, Room Noises from 2005. This was in advance, and I was doing a lot of rock then, and it was a Christian rock band.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you deal with, whenever I had a Christian band, it's like, okay, is it a lot of proselytizing? Do I need to, do you write around it? Do you write directly at it? Do you, and are you writing as, I don't know. It was always awkward for me, and I just kind of took it album by album.
Yeah.
And this is one I ultimately didn't do. But
well, when I would do it, it would if it was strictly for the believers.
Right.
I thought, well, I don't need to review this,
right.
unless there's something where I like it so much being a non-believer that I do want to listen to it, like old, black gospel quartets. I would review that stuff because I love that stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
But a lot of the times, and I used to, when I would interview Christian rock bands, we would talk about it. It's like, and I would say, I don't understand if you just want to be writing about your life and how this impacts your life, then you don't need to proselytize. You just need to write.
Right, exactly.
And most of the time, they really liked that perspective because a lot of them wanted to do that.
Well, they it's like a whole separate genre in a way, So there's a group of people that know all the Christian bands, and they don't listen to the other bands. Mm-hmm. And then there are people who listen to the other bands who don't think they want to listen to the Christian bands. Right. And every band is different, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I never knew how to play it. And a lot of bands, I forget who it was. It was a woman, I believe, from a Christian band or a band that was labeled Christian. She said, we don't want to be labeled a Christian band. We're a band whose members are all Christian, but we're not a Christian band. Yeah. And I was always intimidated by this. I don't want to pretend they're not a Christian band if that's important, but then I don't want to just make that who they are when I'm writing a review of them.
Well, Sixpence None the Richer was like a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Because that band started in the Christian music community.
Right.
And then they released this album that, maybe if you look, there's Christian values and stuff in it, but it's not a Christian band.
A bunch of artists are Christian, but that's just not really tantamount to everything else that they sing about. But wasn't Evanescence where they?
I think they were. Yeah. And like Van Morrison, and he wrote lots of very religious kind of songs.
Right.
A lot of songs about mentions of Jesus and mentions of faith and things like that. But you'd never say Van Morrison is a Christian artist.
Well, it was just real intimidating to me as a reviewer because I wasn't sure what was the appropriate angle with each band when I got something like that. Because if they were a good band, I wanted to write about them. If they were a Christian band, I was more than happy to include that in there.
Right.
But then they don't want to be stereotyped as just a Christian band because they want an audience that's maybe non-Christian.
Right.
But then some of them don't want you to pretend like they're not a Christian. It's just like, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's just too much to wade into.
Yeah, and and when a lot of times people would call me and ask me to review a Christian artist or something, and it's not a Christian artist, it's somebody in the contemporary Christian music field.
Right.
And, I would tell them, if I criticize their lyrics sometimes, I'm going to be criticizing their faith.
Yeah.
And, there's a friend of mine who was in a very successful rock band, and when the rock band broke up and sobered up, he did basically a Christian album, his first solo album. And it was like, and I remember hating to write what I wrote, but it's like when people first get into something like that, it's like they say the same dogma over and over.
Right.
It's like, I've heard this 1,000 times before. It's like the first time you fell in love, and every song you wrote was about the first time you fell in love.
Right.
So that's not really
right.
It's good if you already believe it and you just want to hear more of the same, but there's no new perspective. And it's like when Ashley Cleveland would do something, and she was very Christian and was a contemporary Christian movement. Her songs sounded like somebody who had lived it.
Right.
Had lived a life.
Right.
And
you want an artist to be, you don't want a disingenuous artist. And there are all kinds of disingenuous artists that it has nothing to do with religion, but what kind of, like all the country singers who have the really pronounced Southern accents when they're not even from the South, Yeah. Or they talk about living in a one red light town or whatever, and they're from New York City. You want some authenticity to an artist.
Yeah, and something that's original.
But if I'm looking at Isley or the Pussycat Dolls, I'm going to review the Pussycat Dolls and save myself the trouble.
Well, the rule that I always made for myself is this written just for the faithful, or is this written for everybody?
Right. It's hard to figured that out. And I think some of them, they kind of deliberately wanted to hit everybody. You know, they wanted the Christian rock fans, but then they wanted to be treated differently, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, even if it was just full of, songs about faith, whatever, if it was different enough, then I would review it on that basis.
Okay.
But yeah, sometimes it's just like, this is not really, you're not making this music for everybody. You're just making it for this little, segment.
I'm going to check off some others here. Sarah McLachlan remix album, which I forgot existed. I was so excited to find that from 2001. And it was actually DJ Tiesto who remade Sweet Surrender. And Rabbit in the Moon redid Possession. She's the last person you would think would have a remix album.
Okay.
And it's like, I remember really loving it for a couple of years, but it wasn't really the Sarah McLachlan I was used to. The Creatures, that was the project by Susie Sue and Budgie from Susie and the Banshees.
I forgot all about that. I remember
they
that
were
now.
really good, but there was just something missing, and it was whatever that was in the air when the whole band was together. So I liked it, but I didn't love it. And this is one I want to bring up: Sneaker Pimps, Becoming X. And this was from 1996 in the UK, 1997 is a UK band, and they had this wonderful song called Six Underground, which is like this kind of mellow, kind of synthetic song and everything. And they had this singer, Kelly Dayton, and she was awesome, and just her command of the thing. I thought, whatever happened to them? Yeah. So I looked it up, and the guy who was the songwriter for the band kicked her out, and he became the singer, and you never heard from them again. So if you got a good singer who's doing a good job, kick her out of your band. So I thought that was funny. Aimee Mann, live at St. Anne's Warehouse. That's a 2-disc set. And this goes down to, when I got it, I was so excited to have it and to listen to it. But with me, with live albums, they're good as a diversion, but I don't ever just keep listening to live albums for some reason. I always revert back to the recorded, produced albums. So she kind of slid off into another, level 2 in this tier,
A lot of times I'm the opposite.
And I love Aimee Mann, and she's a great live performer, but I want to hear the recorded version.
Well, sometimes I like the live one better.
The studio,
A lot of times the live one has more fire to it. But yeah, St. Anne's is one of those places. They've recorded lots of live albums.
Yeah.
Like a real hot venue. I know that Lou Reed had recorded stuff there, and Marian Faithfull's my favorite album by her, which is a live album.
Mm-hmm. Well, this was from 2004. If you love Aimee Mann, you want to hear her live, it's a great album. And if you love live albums like Wayne and you can listen to them for years and years, then definitely check it out. And if it's just more of a novelty to you, then listen to it on Spotify or something. I want to ask you one more too while I'm still on this page. The Nip Tuck soundtrack. Okay, this was from 2004, and it was an FX network. I didn't watch Nip Tuck. Did you watch Nip Tuck?
No, my son Rylan did. He loved it.
Okay. And then, so the interesting thing about this is the soundtrack was eclectic. I don't remember reviewing it. I didn't watch the show. But Ryan Murphy, this was his project.
That was
Ryan
his first
Murphy,
big thing.
He went on to do all the American Horror Story shows and all that stuff. Huge writer. But you remember him from when he was an intern at the Knoxville News Sentinel.
Yep.
What can you tell us about Ryan Murphy that we've not heard before?
Well, he lived a summer with Betsy Pickle when he was out of a place and she put him up. I didn't.
Now he could have you killed, so be careful what.
Yeah,
you say.
I know he could. He would never remember me. I don't think we didn't have much of a. I mean, we talked.
But he did entertainment, right?
He did entertainment. His big claim to fame, and he's talked about it since when Terry Morrow interviewed him.
Right.
Was back when toe cleavage was a thing in shoes.
Okay.
He did a story about toe cleavage.
So from toe cleavage to one of the
American Horror Story, and
to one of the most successful screenwriters.
But he left the News Sentinel and wrote for one of the Whittle publications for a while.
Okay, Whittle was based in Knoxville.
Yeah, and they had a thing where they would, like, if you were at a doctor's office, they wouldn't let the doctor's office have any other magazines other than these Whittle magazines.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a
weird place for a monopoly, but
isn't
okay.
it? But that's one of the ways that they were making money early on, and I thought it was awful. I love to go into a doctor's office or a dentist's office, and they've got different magazines there.
Right.
But this was like a rack And
it was all Whittle
it was
stuff.
all Whittle stuff.
Well, the Whittleites disappeared from Knoxville, so there you go.
Yep, they did.
Oh gosh.
But anyway, he was an interesting guy. But
I hated that all that happened before I came around. But
you would have hated him.
I would have hated. Okay. Well, then I don't hate that. Then I'm glad I never met the guy.
I think he was kind of snotty, and I think he's probably less snotty now than he was then.
He seems like a pretty humble guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was young and he was cocky, and and there's that.
Too good for this place. That's the way a lot of interns are. Some of them come in and they're wide-eyed, and they're terrified of doing anything. Some come in like they already have it figured out, and they don't need an editor. And I'd give me the wide-eyed ones any day.
Yeah, well. Ryan was more of the got it figured out, but but to some extent, I guess he did. He went on to be a huge success.
He didn't need to be an intern forever, that's for sure.
Here's the next one I put my hands on, and this was a band that came together right when my wife and I moved to Memphis, and they're called Human Radio.
Oh yeah, I loved Human Radio.
They had their song "Me and Elvis." And I remember the whole band were from different bands around Memphis, and it was kind of like a Memphis supergroup. Ross Rice was the lead singer, and it's just it was on CBS Records, and I think all the other musicians in Memphis were jealous of them because they got signed to CBS Records.
Yeah,
but they just put that one album out, and that's it.
Yeah, well,
Ross Rice went on to put out some solo records, and he moved to Nashville.
I hung out with him I judged some kind of talent contest one time in the Old City, and Ross was there, and we talked for a long time. But the fiddle player is related to
Peter Herka.
Yeah, he's related to somebody in the Black Cadillacs. I think the Hortons. I think Will Horton,
Black
the lead
Cadillacs,
singer.
the local Knoxville.
Yeah, Knoxville.
Are they still a band?
I don't think they're still a band, but
I have seen them though. They played at Bonnaroo a couple of years back, and I remember liking them.
Yeah, but I think Herka is related to them somehow. I can't remember how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I had the Black Cadillacs on the late night show one time and played a Human Radio song. It's like, oh, that's our cousin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, they really catchy pop songs on this record. I was a huge enthrall with XTC at the time, and Human Radio kind of fits in that clever, really complex, clever pop song format.
And they could be really funky. There's a song on the album called Monkey Suit that I used to play all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Put your funky monkey suit on.
Yep.
It's great. Okay. You got another one, or you want to?
Well, I got another band that hung around Memphis when I was there, and in fact, we opened for this band. They were signed to Virgin Records, and they were called the Gun Bunnies.
Yeah, I remember the Gun Bunnies too.
Their album was called Paw Paw Patch, and it was produced by Jim Dickinson, who played with the Stones, and then his sons, Cody and I don't remember Luther are North Mississippi Blues All-Stars. Is that what they're called? Anyway, he's rock royalty, Jim Dickinson is. But the Gun Bunnies played. They had a standing Wednesday night gig at the South End in Memphis, and we would go check them out all the time, and they were really, really good. They just put that one record out and disappeared. They were from Little Rock, and then my wife and I moved to Little Rock after we lived in Memphis, and I used to see the guitar player and the bass player in other bands around town. But the Gun Bunnies just had that one album on Virgin Records. But it's a good record if you can find it, Paw Paw Patch.
I remember that. All right, still in the S's for me.
Okay, where you will remain throughout the show.
Sebadoh.
Yeah,
Sebadoh is started when Lou Barlow left Dinosaur Jr. because Jay Mascis, or how do you pronounce his name? Mascis. I've interviewed him, but I've never pronounced his last name right. But he became the pretty much the total songwriter for Dinosaur Jr., so Lou Barlow left and formed Sebadoh. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Sebadoh is not, they don't have the kind of footprint that Dinosaur Jr. has, and they're not so loud and in your face. They're just more like a good rock and roll band.
Yeah.
And I actually like them better.
I do too. Jay Mascis's voice takes a little getting used to.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he's really lazy.
Yeah. But Sebadoh's just earnest is a word I generally don't use in a positive way because I kind of hate it. But, it just seems like good rock and roll. My favorite album is actually from 2012 called Defend Yourself. Bake Sale and Harmacy are really good too, and those are more popular. But Defend Yourself is like when they kind of came back. And it's got one of my favorite breakup songs at the beginning called I Will. And it's very honest and very sad, but really, really catchy. And let's see. And then I don't know that I've ever mentioned Bob Seger on this podcast.
No,
I don't remember.
And I got real sick of Bob Seger. God knows. I got so sick of him in the 70s and the early 80s.
In every truck commercial, I just get so sick of that song.
I know. And it's just, he wears you out. But in the 60s and early 70s, I really like Bob Seger. 1968, Ramblin' Gamblin' Man.
That's a great song.
It's a great song. And people cover it all the time. I mean, Mick Harris and the High Score, every time they cover it, it's like, I love this song.
They could do a good version of that song.
And then the live album, Live Bullet, and the album Kathmandu, those are all just solid. Not the album Kathmandu. The Kathmandu's on the album Beautiful Loser. And those are just absolute solid albums. And I interviewed him a couple times, and not one of the nicest guys you'd ever talk to. He's
Really?
just super friendly. But he told me, because he's in Detroit, and there was a real, hard rock Detroit scene, and he was talking about the MC5, and he said he was at a party with them, and they slipped him heroin into a joint. And I was like, that's horrible. And he goes, it's all right. They were some bad boys.
Wow.
But I thought, man, I'd be pissed as hell if somebody slipped me heroin.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah.
When would that have been? 70s?
If it's with the MC5, it would have been someplace between 68 and 71.
Yeah,
I think that's as long as it
attitudes
lasted.
about drug use then were so casual.
But still, heroin. Give me a break. What'd you do if somebody slipped you heroin?
Maybe
beat the
they
hell
did.
out of
I
them.
don't know. I don't know their life.
Still.
Somehow I think heroin wouldn't be as bad as someone dosing you with acid, though. I mean, heroin, you just fall asleep and narc out. But, I mean, LSD, who knows where you're going to...
That's true.
Heroin was, I remember with our anti-drug campaigns in school and everything, heroin was looked at as the worst drug.
Because it's so addictive.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I think meth is as addictive, if not more.
This is pre-meth, really.
Yeah, well, meth was always there, but it was before it was a popular thing.
Right.
I was always scared of the needles, with heroin.
Yeah.
Stick a needle in it.
Just all of that.
But you can smoke it. That's the thing. It's like they call it chasing the dragon, and he chased the dragon and didn't know what he was chasing.
Right.
All right, and one more Seeger, totally different, Pete Seeger, which I'm like... The old folky guy. I mean, where have all the flowers gone? And he did a great version of her name.
Didn't he write Puff the Magic Dragon?
No, he did not. That was Peter Yarrow and somebody. I can't remember the other fellow that was writing with him. But where have all the flowers gone? And of course, Turn, 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 that the Byrds made a big hit out of, which was one of the song from Ecclesiastes that he adapted. But he's got I think his best song is one of the best anti-war songs called "Waist Deep in the Big Muddy," and it's about it relates a true story of a army group that was training, and they got this inexperienced captain, and he leads them into the water, and they drown.
Oh.
All these people drowned because they were just following orders, needing to know what the hell he was doing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's bad leadership.
Yeah. But he was blacklisted for years, and then the Smothers Brothers brought him on TV for the first time in like 10 years or something, and he sang that song. And it was one of the reasons the Smothers Brothers got canceled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they said they thumbed their nose at the censors and had him on.
Yeah, you think of the Smothers Brothers as being, this kind of harmless, but man, they were progressive.
Oh, they were, when they got canceled, there was protests everywhere, including in Knoxville.
Really?
Yeah, because, they were canceled because they wouldn't hush about the Vietnam War and other things. Great, and nice, at least Tommy, super nice guy. I really liked talking to him. All right, so there's my Seegers.
Okay, here's my latest weird ramble. Stereolab had an album, and I think it's called Cobra and Phases Group Play Voltage in the Milky Night. I didn't review that just because I hated the title so much. And it's like I didn't realize all my prejudices until I saw this. So I love Stereolab. I love their construction of songs. I love the vocals and all that. But this one is just like, oh get out of here. It's like, and I could have just done Cobra and Phases ... or something like that. That's what I did with there's a Fiona Apple album that was like forever. It was like a chapter. It would have been half of my allowed space for the review just to write the whole name of it.
I know. I always thought that was the most pretentious junk. I liked her, but I wouldn't listen to the album for the same reason that you wouldn't listen to that other one.
Yeah. Radiohead, OK Computer fell into this group from 1997. And the interesting thing about that is when I think of big bands and, like, I don't know, Nirvana or Pearl Jam or whatever, it's usually just one or two albums comes to mind. And when you look at Radiohead's collection, they had a lot of really good albums. Pablo Honey maybe wasn't the best one. It was their first one from 93, but they had OK Computer. They had Hail to the Thief in 2003. They had The Bends, which I really liked. They had Kid A, which I really liked. They had Amnesiac. Not everyone really liked that one, but I really liked that one. So it just struck me that they had a bigger body of work than a lot of the other big bands at the time.
Yeah, and
how is OK Computer in the B stack?
I don't know. I don't know because I think I like that one.
That's a great record.
I don't know why that one would have. I would have thought Pablo Honey would have been in there maybe, but not that one. But that's just, and there's no science to this B stack. I mean, a lot of it's random. Like Beck's Midnight Vultures ended up here, and he had a lot of albums. And I liked Midnight Vultures when it came out. That came out in '99, and he had a lot of good albums, to that point. Yeah. And this one, some people were turned off. It kind of looked like it might be a disco album from the cover and everything. But I thought it was great. But it was, I guess, his first kind of not flop, but first kind of bump in the road when he wasn't as popular. But I thought the album was great, and it could have just been the cover. But I found Lady Sovereign, who is like, I was so glad to find her because I've thought about her. I'm like, who is it? There's a woman rapper from Britain, and I can't remember her name. It's like Lady something, and it's Lady Sovereign. And she had an album called Public Warning in 2006. She is like the female British Eminem, except a lot funnier. And she's just hilarious. She has a great song called Love Me or Hate Me. I can't really go over the lyrics to that, but that was funny. Also, I have another Aimee Mann, actually two Aimee Manns. I got Lost in Space 2-disc special edition. Did you get that? It's like a big thing. It's got like a cartoon booklet and everything. I don't think I ever listened to it.
It's great.
But it's like, I mean, I listened to the album, like, the little cheap advance that they sent or everything. But this is just like, do you treat your like collections, collectible type things? Do you kind of, are you reluctant to pull them out and listen to them? Or are you just like, okay.
No, I put everything. I mean, collectible or not, it's all in the.
I never had the toys or the comic books or anything that you would keep and not open. But then so I guess this is my downfall with the CDs. Like if it's like something special, and I know there aren't many of them out there, I don't really even want to like open them, or certainly don't want to listen to them.
Did Aimee draw the cartoons?
I don't know.
She does.
She may have.
She draws her own comics.
I haven't dared to open it enough to read and find out. I was just flipping through it. I thought, well, this is a really cool package.
I follow her on Instagram, and she all the time puts up like 6-7 panel comic strips to describe things that she's just recently done. And she's real interesting.
She very well could have. I'll have to look at that again.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, I remember the cover very well, but I don't remember the.
And also in the Aimee Mann world, she had an album called Blank Smilers, and it's like all these punctuation marks, and it was from 2008. I didn't love the album so much, but she's got a song on there called 31 Today that I think is so awesome. And it's about turning 31, and it's kind of like, you've got these markers in your life. When you're 16, you can drive a car. When you're 18, you can vote or go to war. When you're 21, you can drink. 25 is kind of, you're in the middle of 20s, maybe out of college by that point. And then once you hit 30, there's nothing to look forward to anymore. And there's a song just called 31 Today, and it has this great chorus. It's just, I thought my life would be different somehow. I thought my life would be better by now, but it's not, and I don't know where to turn. And that's just such an Aimee Mann line. And of course now, she'd be doing 62 today or something like that. But that had that one really special song, so it's kept it in this stack. Got Eminem, Curtain Call. It's the greatest hits by Eminem. What makes this special, this is from 2005, is he did the hit song Stand that had Dido was the woman vocalist and everything. But he did on the Grammys in 2001, he had Elton John perform with him. And part of that was to combat this.
Remember that?
Yeah, there was this backlash against him that was homophobic, and he really wasn't. But his lyrics and his characters and all that stuff. And Elton John stood behind him, and he went on the Grammys and they performed it together. So that song, that cut from the Grammys, is on this. That was in 2001, and this Curtain Call came out in 2005. Otherwise, an Eminem greatest hits album is just kind of a weird thing. Some greatest hits albums are just kind of weird things. And
I got this disc and I listened to it so much. Back in 2004, there's a guy named Neil Halstead. Mm-hmm. He's Scottish. The name of the album is Sleeping on Roads. It's on 4AD Records, which is Cocteau Twins. And
I've done a lot of those artists.
He's got this really nice, whispery Nick Drake kind of voice. Mm-hmm. I think he's really trying to channel Nick Drake, but he's got a band, but they're real on the down low. It's not loud, it's soft, but really attractive. And I just love this record. It's called Sleeping on Roads, Neil Halstead.
That one up. Well, I don't think I have mentioned the Sex Pistols. And, of course, there's only one Sex Pistols album to get. Never mind the bollocks.
Never mind. Yep.
That's
It sounds great.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is my friend Russ Harper, he's with the band Evil Twin and the Melungeons and Teenage Love. And we were working at McDonald's together. And he got the Sex Pistols album. And I would borrow it. And it sounded, it was... it had so much stuff in the grooves, and then I got it on CD years later, and it's like, this doesn't sound right.
Right.
It's supposed to sound cruddy.
It's supposed to. It sounds way better with dirt in the grooves and popping and cracking. But, that album is like, before I heard it, we all read about the Sex Pistols a long time before we heard about them, or before we actually heard them. And you hear it, and it's like, this is really good.
I mean, the lyrics are kind of ridiculous, but you're not listening to it for the lyrics necessarily.
Yeah, but
Johnny Rotten's delivery is just one of a kind.
Yeah, and I mean the song "Bodies," the lyrics are actually pretty good on "Bodies."
Yeah, but like "Submission."
Yeah,
it's like Malcolm McLaren, who owned a clothing store, and he basically put the band together, and he told him to write a song called "Submission" because he was into bondage. And Johnny Rotten wrote a song about a submarine mission. Can't figure out your watery love. But man, if you want something to play when you're pissed off,
that's a good one.
That album does it.
Yeah. Right after that, I have Ron Sexsmith.
Oh, I love him.
He's a singer-songwriter. He was championed by Paul McCartney and some different people.
He sounds like Paul McCartney.
A little bit, yeah. He definitely writes melodies in that kind of vein of Paul McCartney. Yep, he's Canadian. I have my favorite album I think by him is called Retriever. And it has a song on it called I Feel for the Driver.
Is that the one that was produced by Mick Rock?
I don't know if Mick Rock did.
Well, because there's one album of his that he's obviously trying to make a commercial album, and it's my least favorite of his albums.
I don't think this doesn't
It's real slick and got lots of distorted guitars, and I'm like, what are you doing? No,
this one is real quiet. I mean, it's just kind of it perfectly distills down, I think, what is great about Ron Sexsmith.
I'm always reminded of it. There's a song of his called "God So Loved the Idiot Boy," and he's talking about himself.
Yeah,
and he's very self-deprecating, and I really like his songwriting.
Well, this song I was about to talk about, it was like I feel for the driver. He's talking about I feel for the driver who runs over this kid that didn't mean to, and he's like, I feel for the soldier who had to kill somebody he didn't want to kill, and these different things, and it's a really deep song that I think a lot of people can relate to, but it's great stuff. And then, one more on this round. I'm doing 3 at a time.
Okay.
Ravi Shankar.
Okay.
Who is the great sitar player that introduced the Beatles to sitar and George Harrison, and he's a great Indian classical musician. And I first really listened to him on the soundtrack album to the movie Charlie, which it's
the sequel to.
No, it's based on Flowers for Algernon, the science fiction story. Right. Cliff Robertson won Best Actor for it in 1968 or 69 when it came out. But the music is absolutely beautiful, and all his stuff, if you like Indian music and ragas and stuff like that, is good. But it was funny because I interviewed Ravi one time. He played here in town. Great concert. But in the interview, I always ask, what's written about you that's wrong? what's out there that's a misconception. It was great because he says, well, I am not a hippie. And he was really pissed that so many people associated him with the hippie movement because that's when he became popular and everybody started using sitars. Right. And it really pissed him off that people were using sitars in this, non-classical setting all the time. But he was really funny. Of course, he's Norah Jones' dad.
I was wondering when you were going to get to that. It's like you're just missing the lead. Norah Jones' father.
Yes. But
also
he was
a musician.
Yeah, but in India, he's a way bigger deal than...
Right.
He's the most famous sitar player in the world, or was. But his music's great, but he was funny to interview. Okay, so there's 3.
Okay. So I found myself surprised to find some meh albums by groups I like. The Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Show Your Bones from 2006. I was surprised. Garbage, Bleed Like Me from 2005. I was surprised, but I couldn't think of any of these songs. And I think the most surprising of all was Sheryl Crow's Detours from 2008. I feel like I know all of her songs and all of her albums, and I was looking at the songs and thought, how did this one just completely pass me by? Oh, sounds like a Sheryl Crow song. But anyway, so that was those, and I've got Susie. So I talked about the Creatures, Susie and the Banshees, right. the Susie and Budgie. She also had her own solo album, which I'd forgotten about, Manta, which came out in 2007. And I love her to death, but it's almost like she was trying to sound mainstream, so I just kind of distanced myself from it. I don't know how that... But I came across the Go Team, Thunder, Lightning, Strike. Don't know anything about them. Saw the album cover. I know I like it. I'm going to have to listen to it and get back to it because I just saw it. I felt the excitement. It's like, I got to listen to this, but not yet because I don't have time. A woman named Ida Maria, and all I knew, I saw that and I thought, she's a Norwegian, isn't she? And that's all I remembered about her. And she is indeed Norwegian. So I don't know if I like her or not, but I do know she's Norwegian. And I remembered that after all these years. And Los Campesinos, Sticking Fingers into Sockets from 2007. Again, I saw that album cover. I thought, I like this album. I've got a bunch of albums I can't wait to listen to now because of this. And I'm going to go listen to them and probably like them, even more. Huh. And I'm looking real quick. For some reason, the artistry of Bobby Gentry ended up in this stack.
Don't say anything bad about Bobby Gentry.
It was like a greatest hits, I guess. And I know Ode to Billy Joel, and that's the only song of hers I know. So I thought, wow, that's interesting that's kind of anywhere.
What was the album that she put out? She only put out like one album,
didn't she? She put out a bunch of albums, a whole bunch.
Who knew?
It's an early one, and it is really strange. It's interesting, but it's really strange. She does all kinds of like chanting, and
she did. She was out. She did some stuff that was out there for sure.
I still feel like there's a kind of a Lana Del Rey vibe to her, but it was in a different context, with just something kind of weird and different. But
she wrote the song "Fancy."
Yeah,
she recorded it first, and then Reba McEntire had a huge hit with it, and it's about a woman teaching her daughter to be a prostitute, basically.
Okay.
And she was, and the thing about her is she married Jim Stafford, the guy who did Spiders and Snakes and all sorts of funny songs.
Right.
And then I guess they divorced, but she disappeared.
Okay.
She doesn't want to be found. She will not do interviews or would not do interviews.
She near the Tallahatchie Bridge?
I don't know.
The one I'm thinking of is the Delta Suite.
Okay, yeah.
It's not what you expect.
No.
If all you know is Ode to Billy Joe, whatever his name is.
I did. Yeah.
Whatever it is, they dropped off that bridge.
But yeah, she was a really different, idiosyncratic artist.
Then she just disappeared.
Yeah.
Well, I got a big old greatest hits release from her that I've only know the first song to, so maybe I should.
I think you'd like her.
I think I probably would too, honestly. Talking Heads, Speaking in Tongues. I don't know how that ended up here, like at the bottom.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because that's Burning Down the House.
Yeah.
That's Naive Melon. This must be the place.
Yeah.
Naive Moon Rocks. Yeah. So that's from '83, and the one at the very bottom is one that is going to be my recommendation. So I'll sit back on that.
Okay. All right.
I got one that I pulled out, and this is another one that I just listened to over and over again, and it's the opening sequence of like the first 3 or 4 songs is just really well put together, and this is the Eels, Daisies of the
I
Galaxy.
love the Eels. Yeah, I reviewed them all the time.
Daisies of the Galaxy, the Grace Kelly Blues, and The Sound of Fear, and Mark Everett.
Yeah.
Is E.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of good Eels records. The Electroshock Blues is
that's a
I love
rough
that
one.
one.
Yeah.
It's kind of a downer, but because his mom and his sister killed herself, and his mom died all within 1 year, and he's just processing all of this.
Yeah.
Like what's the song? Finding My Sister on the Floor or something.
It's
like he discovered her. She overdosed in the bathroom. But it's dark. But he's a great songwriter.
He is, and there was some. I can't remember what the story was about his dad. His dad was some like known person. I mean, done something. I can't remember. But I interviewed him before he started the Eels when he was just known as E.
Yeah.
And he didn't know when he got signed to the label. He didn't know how advances work.
Right.
He spent like all his tour money in like the first 4 dates.
I remember that story.
He was staying at big hotels and all this other stuff, and it's like he ran out of money. And that was the end of the tour. They had to cancel the rest.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a hard lesson to learn.
It sure was, and I don't know that he recorded another album as E, but he came back as Eels.
I've got that, A Man Called E.
Yeah.
But anyway, Daisies of the Galaxy. Go check it out. It's great.
Yeah, check out all the Eels stuff.
And I got another band that I used to see all the time, and we saw them in Memphis. They're from North Carolina, the Connells.
I remember they played here all the time.
They were on TVT Records, real college rock, jangly college rock band. And the one that I really love is called One Simple Word from 1990. Just super catchy college rock is what you'd have to call it.
Yeah.
I like the Connells.
Yeah. They used to play here a lot. I always liked them. All right. We're on our last round. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to bring up William Shatner.
Okay.
Whose album Has Been is a great album. It's produced by Ben Folds. Okay. It has the first song on it is a cover of Pulp's Common People, and he basically recites it, and then Joe Jackson comes in and sings the chorus.
What's the name of the album?
It's called Has Been. And Henry Rollins is on it. It's got like everybody in Nashville. Kim Ritchie and Webb Wilder, I think, sang backups on it in some of the songs. It is, Ben Folds doesn't do anything halfway.
No.
Right.
He's going to, and when he got with Shatner, I mean, I got it and thought this is going to be funny. And there's funny things on it. Mm-hmm. But man, it's a good album. It's like, I used to put it on all the time. And it's like, I can't believe that I'm rocking out with William Shatner. But yeah, I mean, it is like, I used to play it on the radio all the time, and people would call up and go, "What is this?" But
that's what you want.
Yeah, it was terrific. And then the Shazam, which is a band with led by Hans Rottenberry, who is from, I think he's from Kingsport, but they were kind of like a return to the British invasion sound. He's from Kingsport, Tennessee. He's a local guy, and they got to open for the Jam in England and Spain and got to be a big thing for a little while in Europe.
And they're nothing here.
They're nothing here, but they were great.
Yeah, they got some great records.
Yeah, but...
kind of in the Cheap Trick, kind of power poppy.
Yeah, very power pop and just a lot of fun. My favorite album by them, I think, is Tomorrow the World. And it's got just some great, just straight-ahead rock and roll songs. But this is how audacious this band was. They did an album that covered Revolution No. 9 by the Beatles. Wow. Which is a sound collage, and they do all this other stuff. But, they were great. Their drummer died, and then the band broke up.
My band opened for the Shazam.
Did they?
At the Pilot Light.
Oh, okay. Well, last time I saw them, I think was when Blue Cats was still a thing.
Yeah. But
they were great. But Hans was in a group of us that went to Champaign, Illinois, to see a 35mm print of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Which Champaign, Illinois is significant because that's where HAL 2000, the computer in there, was supposed to have been built.
Ah.
So my friends Jack Stiles, Jay Nations, and David Duncan, and Hans Rottenberry and I all went to Champaign, Illinois to watch 2001. We drove hours and hours to go see a movie. No, it was great.
Illinois is up there,
And then, one last one, so I'll only get to the SHs.
Okay.
Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Remember him?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Hotshot young guitar player, same time as like Johnny Lang and.
Oh yeah, my band in Memphis, we had a manager who was just really ambitious, and he ended up managing, I think he was managing Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Yeah, well, Kenny Wayne is great. There's an album that's actually kind of when he kind of came back called 10 Days Out, where he goes back and does a lot of his blues influences. But the funny thing with him, and I was telling this to somebody the other day, is first time I saw him live, he was he played on the World's Fair Park, and he'd covered Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of Voodoo Child Slight Return.
Jimi Hendrix.
What'd that say?
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah,
Stevie Ray Vaughan covered.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's cover of that
has
some things that other people covered. So he covered that, and I wrote a review. And then a couple years later, I interviewed him, and I said, I always thought that it took you a while to find your own sound, but I think you finally found it. So we had a pretty good interview, and at the end, I asked that question, what's been written about you that's wrong? And he said, well, some guy wrote that I was stealing too much from Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I said, that was me. And I said, but like I said in the beginning of the interview, I think you found your sound. I said, when you played that was the third time I had heard a band play that year.
Wow.
So, I felt like people needed to find some other influences. And after that, it was like, well, okay. We got along.
Do you think he was specifically that he knew that you?
Oh yeah, he knew the whole time.
Okay.
See if you're going to fess up.
It's that guy. I said, "Yep, that was me."
Well, at least you owned up to it.
Absolutely, always own up to it.
Yeah.
It shocks some people.
I got one more.
Okay.
It's Mark Eitzel. He was the singer for American Music Club. And American Music Club put out a string of really, really great records in the 90s. My favorite of theirs was San Francisco, but there's others. But when they broke up, he put out his first solo record called 60-Watt Silver Lining in 1996. It's on Warner Brothers Records. And it's a beautiful record. Something about the way Mark Eitzel sings. He really commits, and you think, oh, man, he really feels that. And he's really emotional and kind of melodramatic, but he does it to good effect. Anyway, 60-Watt Silver Lining, Mark Eitzel, Eitzel.
Okay. I missed Rasputina. They had an EP. I've recommended them before, but they had you might appreciate this. It was a cover album that they did, an EP. They do Bad Moon Rising by CCR. They do Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. They do Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin, and Fire and Ice by Pat Benatar. It's kind of an because you've heard them, I think, too. Rasputina.
I remember that name.
Yeah, I recommended them. You liked them at least at first because I remember. Also, I've got I found a Dead Can Dance tribute album, and I've told you before I like tribute albums, and this one. It was next to like this big brick, Dead Can Dance, 1981 to 1998. It's like everything. So if I ever have 10 hours straight that I want to listen to music, then I'll pull that out. But this tribute album is called Summoning of the Music, and I haven't opened it or listened to it. So I don't know why I haven't done that.
Huh.
But I'm going to go on to recommendations then.
Okay.
If that's okay. Because at the very bottom of this stack was The Kills, No Wow. Now, I mentioned them one fleeting time before, and that was when we were talking about best band names and worst band names and all that. And you were talking about, Wayne, how you didn't like the name The Killers. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, there was a band that came out around the same time called The Kills, and I think they were a much better band. But you said you liked The Kills better than The Killers, the name. Well, at the bottom of this stack, there it was, looking back up at me, No Wow by The Kills. British-American band. Alison Vivi Mosshart, she's an American singer, and Jamie Hintz is a British musician, and he does some singing too. And this album, it came out in 2005, and I think this might have undermined them because they've always done pretty well, right, but not great. And they came out And the Killers, their big song, Mr. Brightside, which is arguably the best-selling rock song of this century so far, really. Yeah. They've sold what, 35 million albums? Yeah, and in a time when people aren't selling albums. So they became huge, and they blew up in 2004. And then in early 2005, the Kills came out with No Wow. And I think that people, because I got them confused, because the Killers, the Kills, same time that they're going on. And I glommed onto the Kills, of course, and everyone else was going with the Killers. And this album, this No Wow, it's such a great album. It's crackling. It's got electronic stuff, but it's mostly guitars, grindy and discordant. And she's got this bluesy, kind of rough, soulful kind of sound to her voice. And they just hitch into real catchy refrains, but it just sounds so tattered and raw and everything. And she's very, very PJ Harvey like. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but it's like totally this is coming out of the PJ Harvey world. That this album alone, I would recommend the title track, No Wow, Love is a Deserter, which is a real aggro song, Dead Road Number 7. That's awesome. Just like this plodding kind of simmering song. The Good Ones, which is infectious, At the Back of the Shell, Murder Mile, all of these songs. There are a few toward the end that are longer, and they're not as catchy with me because I don't like 5-minute songs when I've been listening to 2-minute songs. But it's a great album, and I think the thing that's probably held them back is just their unfortunate timing in the name, because I don't see why they wouldn't be. And they have been popular enough in America, but not greatly popular. And I think part of that's just the timing of their album, when the Killers were just hotter than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I ever distinguished between the two of them.
Right. And they're very, very different.
Yeah.
The Killers are almost...
They're a pop band.
Yeah, they're pretty conventional, you know. Yeah. And, you got, Brandon Flowers and Dave Koenig. They're just big stars. And then this other band came out, and extremely different and just tattered and gritty. So, definitely. No Wow by the Kills.
How about you, John?
My recommendation is the Mountain Goats 2022 album called Bleed Out. If you don't know, the Mountain Goats is led by the lead singer, John Darnielle, and he's a published author. He's a very literary guy. This album he recorded it during the lockdown of the pandemic, and so he watched a bunch of film noir murder mysteries, black and white murder mysteries, and just wrote a song about each movie that he watched. And that's what all these are. But I mean, his voice is kind of nerdy sounding, but he sings really tough topics. And it's like the one song is like, I'm doing this for revenge. He's all about, there's one song where he says, I hope you die. I hope we all die.
Yeah.
He's really bleak and dark, but he sounds like he'd be happy. But the band's really good live too. I've seen him live a couple of times.
It's the Mountain Goats. What's the album again?
Bleed Out.
Okay, that's 2022.
2022.
So pretty recent album there.
Yeah, he's released 4 or 5 since then.
Yeah, he releases a lot of albums.
Oh, productive.
His early albums he recorded just on a boombox. It was just him and an acoustic guitar, and he'd record a whole album on a boombox.
Yeah, my son Rylan introduced me to his music with the album Tallahassee. I think it's Tallahassee, and it's like, man, it is just great. I couldn't believe.
When you go to a show, there's a lot of the people there know every word of every song.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a devoted following.
Well, Adim the artist, that's one of the things we connected on. Adim is like crazy about.
And he's open for the Mountain
Yeah.
Goats.
He
went on tour with them.
Yeah, that's like one of the biggest thrills they ever had. All right, I'm going to recommend, because it was on my list, and I knew I was just going to recommend something I didn't get to. Billy Joe Shaver had a band called Shaver, which is when his son, Eddie, joined him on guitar. And, of course, Billy Joe Shaver wrote, I'm just an old chunk of coal, but I'm going to be a diamond someday, and George on a Fast Train, and all sorts of great country songs. In fact, Waylon Jennings recorded an entire album of Billy Joe Shaver songs called Old Five and Dimers Like Me, and wanted him to be one of the outlaws, when the whole outlaw movement happened. And Billy Joe's wife said, I don't want you known as an outlaw. So he didn't. He didn't join. And
his son is a monster guitar player.
His son was incredible. And they released an album, Tramp on Your Street, which came out in, I have to find the year, in 1993. First one that he recorded with Eddie on guitar. And Eddie I think he was still a teenager then, and he was just smoking. I mean, he knocked it up a level. Instead of just sounding like a country record, this sounded like a raggedy rock and roll record with lots of
his style resembled Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, kind of, but rougher. He had a rougher sound.
He died, didn't he?
He did. In fact, that's what I'm going to say is, and then the next album with that I wanted to recommend is called The Earth Rolls On, which is the last album that Eddie played on. And this happened like Billy Joe's mom had died and his wife died, and then on New Year's Eve, 2001, I think, Eddie died. But this has got Eddie's last performances on it, and man, it's a killer. I mean, and there's all these songs about mortality. The Earth Rolls On's about, the earth rolls on even though you're gone. And man, it's a heartbreak.
It's hard.
It does, especially knowing that this is Eddie's last performance.
Yeah.
But man, Billy Joe was a great singer and a great writer, and he truly was an outlaw. He shot a man in a bar, and
That's
purportedly,
an outlaw to me.
Well,
just to watch him die.
No, he was harassing him for some reason, and the legend goes, though Billy Joe never said it was true, that the guy pissed him off so much he pulled out his gun and said, "Okay, where do you want it?"
Holy crap!
Wow!
But he got off, so
okay. You got a movie?
I do. I've been wanting to see it for a long time, but I just watched Promising Young Woman.
Okay.
And it's directed by Emerald Fennell, who his most recent thing is the new Wuthering Heights. She also directed Saltburn and was
awesome and weird. Yeah.
And she was also one of the directors on Killing Eve, or maybe she may have been an actress on that. She's an actress too. But Promising Young Woman has Carey Mulligan as the main character, and I like Carey Mulligan, and Bo Burnham as the male lead. And as a straight white male, I could not have been more uncomfortable through this movie, but it was great. And it has the premise is that one of her friends was raped.
Okay.
And she is going to get even with the people who were responsible.
So with multiple people responsible.
Multiple people.
Okay.
And this was while they were in medical school. The young woman that she was friends with, dropped out of medical school, and the Carey Mulligan character dropped out of medical school after this, and she is going to get even with all these people.
Wow.
And it's dark, and it's funny in places, and it's heartbreaking in places, and man, it is powerful. You get to the end of it, the Bo Burnham character
He's a comedian.
He's a comedian normally.
Yeah.
And he's not a comedian in this. He's but
I feel like he might be a bad guy, but we'll see.
I don't want to tell anybody what goes on. There's some twists in this movie.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's the same with Saltburn,
Yeah, that's one of the things I like so much about it is it's twisty, but it's logical. I can see what they have planned out in here. It's such a well-constructed story, and that's missing in a lot of movies lately.
Mm-hmm.
They defy logic, and the characters don't act like you think the characters should when they've set them up. This is right down the line, and Carey Mulligan is a knockout. She is so good.
Okay.
So anyway, Promising Young Woman, it came out in 2020. A lot of people missed it, even though it got a lot of critical acclaim.
2020 movies, that was just a dead zone,
I know.
Yeah.
But, man, it is a great movie.
All right. John?
I just watched this last night. I found it on YouTube, and it is called Hansa Studio by the Wall, and it's about Hansa Studio in Berlin. From 1976, it was just a history of the studio from 1976 to 1990. That's where David Bowie recorded all of his Berlin albums, Lodger and Heroes, and what was the other one?
Low?
Low, yes. But also Depeche Mode recorded a whole bunch of albums there. It became the go-to studio, and the cool thing about it is it was originally a Nazi building that was, I think it was some kind of a guild, a craft guild for people that built, like, I don't know what they built, but they had all these rooms where they would do big presentations, and so they built these big ornate rooms that had great sound in them, and then it got bought by the company that turned it into a recording studio, and it was within sight of the Berlin Wall. You could look out the windows and see guards with machine guns walking across the top of the Berlin Wall. And that's one thing that David Bowie really enjoyed. And West Berlin in that day was just like a little island of completely wild debauchery and nightclubs and everything. And you could just...
Chuck was there.
Still kind of is. Just saying, not much has changed.
But Iggy Pop recorded there. David Bowie produced Iggy Pop there. Brian Eno produced a lot of David Bowie stuff there. Yeah. It's a really interesting history of that studio, Hansa Sound Studio.
Where was that streaming?
It's on YouTube.
Okay.
Hansa, Hansa. It's a famous studio, and it's still going. You can.
I think it's in Kutzburg. That's where I saw the unhoused guy and his dog that time when I was going to the record store. Oh. I told a long story about that. But that was the neighborhood, and it was like real on the edge.
Yeah,
always.
And I was gonna mention my wife. I'm ashamed to say it, but my wife and I usually eat dinner in front of the TV. Mm-hmm. And while we're eating, we like to have like just a 30-minute comedy. And we've watched a bunch of them, and we've finished them up, and just. As an afterthought, I said, I hadn't seen Arrested Development in a long time, so we started that, and I just forgot how funny that show is. All of those people are hilarious in their own ways, and they were at the height of their comedic skills then. And, man, it's just like every 10 minutes there's something you have to stop and pause just to compose yourself. I remember there was one episode where they introduced the lawyer, Bob Loblaw.
Yeah.
And they used to have so much fun with that because they show a court scene where the opposing attorney says, "That's a low blow, Loblaw." And then on that same episode, it was when Tobias, who's a psychologist, he decides he's going to make a new practice, and he's going to use his training and analysis with his interest in therapy, and he's an analrapist. And it shows his business card, and it's ANALRAPIST. So it says anal rapist. It's just hilarious. That show is great. So that's just a
bonus recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the movie Disclosure Day. It came out in June 12th, 2026, and it's a Steven Spielberg movie, PG-13 sci-fi fantasy action movie. And Spielberg's 79 now. And John Williams did the soundtrack for this. He's 94.
I thought he was completely retired.
I know. I thought he was gone. I mean, so that was very surprising. This is, Emily Blunt is probably the most, the best character in it. And she plays a weather person at a TV station in Kansas City. This whole thing is kind of set in the Midwest, which is odd because, you don't see movies set there like this.
Wish they had more, actually.
Yeah. And Josh O'Connor's in it. He's like a cybersecurity expert. And there's a thing, they don't know each other, but there's a thing that unites both of them. And I've got to say, it's 2.5 hours long, too many characters, too much government conspiracy. It's about aliens,
right.
Of course. It's Spielberg.
Oh, yeah.
But too much government conspiracy stuff that was overly complicated, but kind of basic at the same time. And like I say, too many characters. And one thing, I always laugh about a Spielberg movie because you always get the pans. You get like it's 5 kids reacting to something. You pan from one face to the other, and then this pans, and then pan and he does it. This whole movie is like a pan. It's like, sit still, dude. I mean, it's like let me see the character that's talking for half a minute because it's just and there are some improbable turns and some action type movie things that didn't really pay off. But hang on,
okay,
It still wasn't bad, and it does because it's Spielberg. There's some scenes that were really, really great. There's some humor in it. Emily Blunt's fantastic in this movie, and honestly, the Williams score is overwhelming too. You feel like it's too much.
Yeah.
No offense to the 94-year-old John Williams, but it does have some good action scenes, and it just builds to a really great ending.
Okay.
And that part made it worthwhile. But it was kind of long, and I thought I'm not going to be able to recommend this about halfway through. But then it just got better and better, and Emily Blunt's character, and even the O'Connor character got better. Colin Firth is in it. It's kind of a bad guy. But the characters weren't that well developed, but it just got somewhere at least, and there was a payoff at the end that I liked. And, you remember, Spielberg did Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He did E.T. He did War of the Worlds. He did Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which had an alien element to it.
And 8mm, which has a alien monster.
Right. So this has been a fascination for Spielberg. So it's kind of interesting to see how he wrapped this one up.
It's funny because, it sounds like it's the exact opposite of 8mm, because 8mm was like the first half of it is all character development, and it's great. Yeah. And then you get to the monster, and it's like, eh.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think there was some attempt at character development. I just think maybe I don't know. It felt like it was being put together by a bunch of different directors, and it was kind of going down some formulaic things. But then, and there were just some completely... I'll tell you this one scene, and I almost got mad enough to where I was going to be turned off to.
Right.
Josh O'Connor, he's hiding away in this remote country house, and his girlfriend's in this house, and he goes out in the field for a reason, off into nature, and then when he comes back, all of these agents, like 30 agents and 20 cars had showed up, and they surrounded the house, and somehow he just walked right up. All of them had their backs to him the entire time. He walked right up, jumped in the car, drove into the house, and his girlfriend was sitting there, and popped her in the car and took off. I'm like, this is BS. It's like, I don't need this. But there was enough redeeming stuff that I got over that.
This is why we agree on movies so much.
Yeah,
it's like, if something like that happens, I'm done.
Just stop it. Yeah, it's like, I think I'm done. But
You're asking me to believe
too
much.
Yeah.
I watched a movie with Walter yesterday called 65 with Adam Driver, science fiction. And it's like, man, I'm really enjoying this. And all of a sudden, something really stupid happens. And it's like, you're smarter than this. I know you're smarter than this. And then it's like, okay, I don't care what happens anymore.
Yeah. I almost got there, but I hung in, and it had a decent payoff. I don't know if you'll think the payoff is worth it. Some people, they wouldn't be bothered by but I'm recommending it, with a soft thumbs up.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So thanks for joining us today. You can find us on social media on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, X, still on Instagram. And you can also hear this podcast on YouTube. We ingested the entire 2 years in one blow. So all of a sudden, the YouTube podcast is just full of how we heard it. And, and of course, all the usual Apple Podcasts. I mean, you're listening to it now. You found us somewhere, Spotify. And if you got any questions for us or feedback, or if you have a recommendation you want to share, you can send it to us at howweheardit@gmail.com. And
welcome, Dominican Republic.
Welcome, Dominican Republic. Talk to your friends in Haiti.
And we love suggestions for subjects.
Sure, suggestions for subjects. The ones I like. Thank you.
You've been listening to How We Heard It with Chuck Campbell and Wayne Bledsoe, a podcast about music, movies, art, culture, whatever it is that's on their mind. How We Heard It was recorded at the Arbor Studio in Knoxville, Tennessee by me, John Baker. How We Heard It is a Cozy Planet production. If listening to this podcast has given you a burning sensation, then we recommend you sit in a hot tub until your symptoms fade away. If you'd like to reach out to Chuck or Wayne or even me, you can send an email to howweheardit@gmail.com. So thank you for listening, and come on back and we'll have another episode for you next week.